Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Antisyphon Training Anticast. My name is Jason Blanchard, and here above me is Dan. He is also Haircut Fish, and he's got a presentation about ticketings, or sock stuff. Yeah, something about that. Something about socks. Everybody's got socks. Some people have two different socks. That seems crazy, but Dan, you got a fantastic presentation for us today. I'm going to let you take over. I'm going to go backstage. We will come back at the end of the webcast to take on some questions and fun stuff. Maybe take it away. I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, for the lovely introduction. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the meme path into cyber. So, basically going to talk using meme creation for scoring that first cyber role. We're going to go over what software you need, how to edit photos in a fun and inventive way, and maybe, if we have some time, show off some AI assistance for some of those harder to pull off ones. And as much as I'm sure you guys want to hear about that, that's actually not the talk today. So we are going to go over, yes, it was my April Fool's prank. I thought it'd be fun. So I hope you're here to learn on how to write SOC tickets that build trust and drive action. And without further stalling, let's get started. My name is Dan Rearden. Most of you know me as Haircut Fish. I'm currently a SOC analyst at ProCircular, an MSSP based out of Iowa. I've been with ProCircular for about a year and a half now. And while there, I've triaged over 2,500 SOC tickets, which include internals and client updates. I'm a husband to a super amazing, supportive wife, and I have three awesome kids. Previously, I have written an article in the BHIS Survival Yellow Edition that I got here that it showed for a second. That was on cybersecurity training. My newest article, which is out now for the Survival Guide SOC Edition, is related to the very topic we're going to discuss today. Last thing about me, as you guys were made aware from that first slide, is I like to make memes of cybersecurity professionals, friends, etc. It's a fun hobby that helped kind of get me into cyber as well. So I need everybody to do something. As long as you're not driving, kind of close your eyes for a second. I need you to calm down. I need you to relax, get into a nice calm state. I want everybody nice and relaxed. And so now you can open your eyes. Everybody's nice and calm, like you're sleeping. So imagine it's 2 a.m., you're on call, and suddenly your phone rings, startling you from a wonderful dream. It's a high severity alert. Blurry-eyed, you get out of bed and you head to your work computer, waking it to life. The login page burns your eyes until you get to the safety of dark mode. You navigate to the ticket queue and click on the high severity alert. Your computer would rather be sleeping as well, as it takes what feels like an eternity to load that ticket. You begin searching the ticket history to see if there's any of this type of event that has occurred prior. And you find one. Mentally, you're cheering. You know that, hey, minimum brain power, we got the triage steps, we know what to do. You load up that other ticket, and all that's written is maybe a false positive with no other information, no linked tickets, and all closed as false positive, and it's closed out as false positive. It's time to hunker down, wake up, and triage this ticket. How many of you are having flashbacks right now? And how many of you, being honest, you don't have to put it in chat, that have been the prior analysts that wrote that ticket that had nothing? I will admit, I've done it maybe once or twice. And it happens. Now that I've traumatized everybody, uh, let, let's get on into it here. My talk today, we're going to learn not only how to convey pertinent information, but provide guidance for future incidents. In addition, we'll learn what the elements are that are needed to make a great SOC ticket. As SOC analysts, we hold a unique position where we need to not only know how to talk technically, but how to talk to those who are not so tech savvy. We need to become almost like a tech Rosetta Stone, if you will. Our words need to convey weight to them. A weight that when applied to something as simple as an internal note on a ticket, it will tell the analyst months, maybe even years down the road, what happened and how to solve it. But don't expect to be able to do this overnight. Like anything that matters in this life, it will take work. We need to build subroutines and work them as if they were muscles in our own body. It only gets stronger the more it is being used. We interact with others several different ways in our day-to-day work lives. This could be using a messaging app like Teams or Slack, or through a ticketing system like Jira or ServiceNow. It doesn't matter if you work in office, remote, or hybrid. The only difference would be more face-to-face interactions for people in person and hybrid workers. All this to say, we have multiple channels of communication we utilize, and each one of them have their own standard that needs to be met to effectively get our point across. When we are talking with our coworkers or collaborating with other teams, there are usually two types of communication happening. The first type is work-related. Some examples of this would be work item needs to be completed. Leaving a note on a ticket you're triaging, or relaying information on upcoming downtimes or environment changes. The next type is the water cooler talk. This could be a coworker sharing that they went to a concert over the weekend, or the amount of energy drinks consumed today. For me, it's one and a giant cup of coffee. But this talk kind of helps us build bonds and connections between teams, especially those that work remotely. Another channel the SOC communicates on is between clients, if you're an MSSP, or the IT team if you're an in-house SOC, as well as leadership like C-suites. A lot of these interactions are going to be either through an email or ticket escalation, but there are some interactions over the phone or meetings that may occur as well. What this means is we have to tailor our communications, whether written or verbal, to match the person's skill level we are conversing with. If we're unsure of the person's skill level, the best course is to guide them like you would a family member or a friend that isn't very tech savvy. Because if we're not clear with what we're trying to communicate, it could lead to misunderstandings, delays, and even mismanagement of security incidents. Mean time to understand starts with us and expands outward. If we don't understand an alert or a detection, then try to explain that to someone, they might walk away not realizing the extent of what has occurred, which means we need to put thought into our words that we use and how they are formatted so that our messaging is fully understood. To that end, the best way to start off a great SOC ticket is to have an internal note. This internal should give clear indication of the thought process we went through while we investigated. We should be leaving detailed notes so that if the ticket is referenced at a later date, the person will know what evidence was found, exactly what the analyst did, and what next steps were taken, which in turn will help speed up the mean time to remediation tremendously. Do not overlook the power of and future impact of a good internal note. And as I mentioned on the last slide, our words should be tailored to the people we are speaking to. As SOC analysts, we're essentially messengers, taking the information found and packaging it with our expert insight, then delivering it to the respective parties. We want our message to come across clear and concise. By choosing our words wisely, it will instill trust in both the SOC and us as individuals to those on the receiving end of the message. Let's take a quick look at a ticket escalation example. So we have just a simple ticket. Hey, everybody, a user Jerry.Ozier triggered a user risk event. Can you confirm the event was expected? Kind regards, SOC. So in the example, the ticket comes across a little too casual, as well as not providing enough information for the client to go off of. When did it happen? What was the IP address? Was it successful? The ticket is too vague in its messaging, which can lead to mismanagement, delays, and back and forth that ultimately can frustrate the client. So let's take a look at another example here. Hello, Simply Cyber Team. On March 27th at 3 a.m. UTC, the user Jerry.Ozier triggered a risky user event, logging into Office Home. The user's IP was X with the geolocation of Russia. No successful attempts were observed. Can you confirm the event was expected? Kind regards, SOC. Now we can see in this example that we've included the time that it occurred, the event type, application being logged into, source IP with its geolocation, and if it was successful. Overall, a great update, giving the client plenty of information to make an informed decision. And from our examples, we can see that not only having enough information not having enough information will delay the resolution of an incident. On the other side of that, overloading the client with too much information would be like drinking from a fire hose. When you get I want everybody to, if you would like to answer this in chat, feel free. But when you get either a long email or a message, how likely are you going to read the entire message right then? I know for myself, if it's an overly long one, it will take me at least 2 to 3 times looking at that message to fully read it. I was going to say, summarize, yes. 3 lines max, 99%. It goes into ChatGPT. Nice. I love the answers. So, yeah, when we tend to read the first couple sentences and our brains are already done. And to that end, we want to watch how much information we provide as not to overload the client. We can do this by setting up standards that will help guide and organize what we are trying to convey. One way of doing this is by creating templates or canned responses for our most frequently typed items. A great example of this is how many of us type out our signature when we send an email. Or do you do it every time? Or is that already put in there so it already populates? The same thing can be true about templates. A good template is written in a way so that you fill in the appropriate spots and you're good to go. Here is just a sample internal note template. So kind of has it set up with the IP rep, location, device info, so that you just fill in those blanks and the note is ready to go. Then at least half the typing is already done. So during triaging, it helps you also keep focused on these key areas. So in this case, this would be a sample of, say, the user login events. So once it's finished, if you do have any blank spaces, you can just remove them so they're not applied to the ticket. This also gives us a solid foundation to build an escalation upon. Templates help to augment our work so that we can focus on what really matters, keeping our clients safe and informed. So not only that, but we also have to structure our writing. And it matters. We don't want to be sending people walls of text. A few years back, I was watching a Job Hunt Like a Hacker live stream with Jason Blanchard. We all kind of saw him in the pre-show, but if you're curious, that's what he looks like right there. During this stream, he was roasting people's LinkedIn profiles, and it was my turn. At the time, my experience section was literally a wall of text items. It was pretty egregious. Jason said that when a potential employer attempts to read over this section, their eyes will glaze over and begin to seize looking at the looming brick wall of text in front of them. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but the words still ring true. This is why when creating internal notes, escalations, emails, etc., we want to keep the text as visually friendly as possible. So looking back at the internal note template, it's broken down using a bulleted list. I use this style format every day, like several times daily. It helps to not only organize what I'm trying to convey, but also make it visually appealing so that I can easily glance over and understand what's going on. The idea of using the bulleted list also came from that same Jason Blanchard stream I just mentioned. So now we know to use templates and we understand the power of structure. But what do we do, or like what do we fill it with? That is a great question to me, and I'm going to answer it. We need to fill it with specific details from our investigation using the 3 whats. What were our findings? This will be key pieces of evidence found that would support either if an alert was a true or false positive. What do we do? This will be actionable steps that were taken while investigating. This could be isolating a host machine, resetting users' passwords, revoking active sessions, etc. What needs to be done next? This will be a list of next steps for the ticket. If you found an alert was false positive, it would be listed here. Explaining why you came to the conclusion that you did is an enormous help for not only you, but anybody in the future that comes to that ticket. The details matter. So other teams and escalations would be without having a good ticket internal or having it well documented escalation, they would be vague and easily misinterpreted. With that, let's look at a good and bad example, starting with the bad. So here, the ticket is suspicious activity detected. And the analyst saw some weird PowerShell stuff on a dev machine, ran a scan, and it came back clean. Probably a false positive from a scheduled task. Closing out, false positive. So the analyst is using very vague descriptions while leaving out key pieces of evidence that would support the finding. What do you mean by weird PowerShell? What machine was it on? How did they come to the conclusion they did? The internal note leaves more questions than it does answers, leading to double work to regather the evidence, thus wasting time, energy, and the sanity of another analyst that is going to have to go back and redo all that work. So with that, let's look at the good example here. So the ticket is high unauthorized PowerShell execution. And so we have a summary here. Detected an obfuscated PowerShell script attempting to connect to a known malicious IP on workstation WK out of time -1985. And so the analyst has included the investigation findings as well as actions they took, and then the next steps that need to be taken. So giving the specifics for each step of the investigation journey, we can see the findings the analyst provided and that they deem this as a true positive, essentially. The analyst documented what steps they needed to do and isolated the machine and restarted the user or resetting the user's credentials. So in this case, the final conclusion was re-imaging the machine and monitoring M. McFly's account for unusual activity. While it seems like this slide has been focused on ticket internals, it is really for all types of social interactions we have on a daily basis. One of our daily interactions is with fellow SOC analysts and members of other teams within our respective companies. By siloing new information or work already completed, it could result in extra work being done by other analysts and wasting time and resources. Say you're working with a client on an important issue. Then the end of the shift comes and you just peace out of there. You are gone, not passing along what has been completed to the team, not documenting any findings or steps taken within the ticket, just no information whatsoever. The client tries to respond back, but gets radio silence. Finally, they call into the SOC and like trying to get answers. The on-call attempts to unravel what has been done, and the client is upset. And so is the on-call. It can be very frustrating for both the client and other analysts to have to go back through and redo work that was already done. But looking at the flip side of this, you're in a meeting with a client going over monthly SOC reports. At the conclusion, the client tells you that they're switching their RMM tool of choice from Screen Connect to Ninja RMM. Once the meeting is over, you send a message in Teams, Slack, what messaging app of choice, to your fellow analysts, informing them of the changes. So if any tickets come in, it should be expected. They can still look into it, but you have proof that, hey, this is going to be happening. Additionally, you document those changes within the client's data page in your company's internal KB or knowledge base. This will provide a resource for future reference of expected RMM tools when an alert triggers. A knowledge base or KB acts as a centralized information repository containing standards for daily SOC operation. A KB is essentially a living document, meaning if new information regarding existing ones is found, the document should be updated to reflect it. If a page hasn't been created or information isn't in there, find out why. Maybe no one has taken on the challenge of making it, or maybe a page doesn't exist, but it's not being maintained. You should be striving to improve upon these resources for both our own benefit and future analysts as well. So I have a couple KB pages that are great to have if you don't already have them in. So a client data sheet, which is information regarding clients and their environments. So any changes that are made can be reflected on there and referenced if alerts occur. Then there is the frequently used SIM queries. This is one that I reference in my own organization quite frequently, several times a day. But these are the SIM queries that are used daily by SOC analysts that have been tested and approved by the team. Then there's the vetted SOC tools, tools that can help aid a SOC analyst in their daily work or with triaging, as well as the triaging playbooks, a step-by-step instruction manual on how to triage a certain ticket type or category. And so referencing my company's KB daily, not only the frequently used SIM, but the playbooks, having those reference in there will help to not only speed up the process, but also you'll become more familiar with how it should be and in turn becoming better every day. They are an amazing resource, and I can't say enough about KBs. I love them. So, but it isn't just an immediate team we converse with. At times, we may have sales reaching out asking for an explanation on a certain alert, so they can end up going back to a client and explaining it to them. While some may be on different teams within our org, and granted, those internal conversations may be more casual than that of client instructions or interactions, they still should be informative and helpful, and again, taking into account the person's skill level. And so speaking of conversing with clients, though, as we craft our communications with them, we should be setting expectations. This could be explaining what we are doing from our end, or if further information is needed. Letting clients understand what to expect will help them to be better prepared for the next steps. So we have some examples here. Here's just the first one is we are currently investigating and we'll update you within the hour once completed. It's setting a time frame for to tell the client, hey, this is being worked on. We will get you updated shortly. So it kind of reassures them that it's not just hanging in limbo. Then the second one, Splunk has mitigated the file y2k.exe. Was this file expected? Here we're getting confirmation from the client side on the legitimacy of events, files, or applications so that the ticket will be documented proof for future events. So if we're starting to see a bunch of tickets come in for this application, we'd want to reach out and be like, hey, is this something you guys typically use? Would you like an escalation put in? So having that clear form of communication can help tremendously. Additionally, we don't want to flood the client with long technical deep dives into, say, a threat actor's history or their favorite tools. But what we need to do is pass along that key information regarding what has either occurred or actions that need to be taken, so that the client is both informed as well as given enough information to investigate on their end. So our example here, hello. At 10:23 a.m. UTC, we identified a successful login from carl.chonk@thesyndicate.com, originating from a known malicious IP located in Cuba. We've revoked the user's active sessions and forced a password reset. At this time, the account is secure. Please confirm with the user if they are traveling. Here we're providing the client with all the relevant information of what occurred, actions that were taken, and set the expectation of what will need to be done next. Who knows? Maybe Carl was in Cuba with his cat sightseeing. Stranger things have occurred. But what's the purpose of all of this, essentially? Which is another great question, Dan. You're on fire today. It says when an alert comes in, it isn't just sitting in a queue till we decide to take it. No, it's being handled with care. It is handled as if it's our own personal problem. Once we have finished investigating and have escalated the ticket to the client, we want the client to feel like they aren't alone during what could be the most difficult workday of their lives. Even if it is just a ticket we see daily within environments, a mundane ticket to us could be catastrophic to a client. The purpose is to show our clients that we are the right people for the job and they can trust us to detect, mitigate, and respond when bad occurs. So I've shown you both good and bad examples, but how can we put what we learned today into practice? The easiest and quickest way is to read what we've already wrote. Sometimes my wife does like to yell at me about, I like to use voice to text in my text messages to her, and I do not like to read them before I send them, and they usually get sent over very wrong. So she likes to tell me about that. But just reading what we have put down onto a ticket, an internal, we can easily see where there could be grammatical errors, sentences that don't flow properly, and correct those. My biggest thing is, as I'm typing, if I don't like how it sounds, I usually will erase and redo a sentence 5 or 6 times until it goes perfectly. So, which actually will then give the final product of an accurate, clear, and concise. So to that end, if you haven't already, begin creating a repository of canned responses for your most frequent ticket types. These will be a pre-written escalation with areas that need to be updated with the evidence found during investigations. So here, I've taken the ticket escalation example from the previous slide and turned it into a canned response. Hello, team. At timestamp. We identified a successful login, username. And so we can easily see what needs to be updated prior to sending it to the client. I write my canned responses like this to make sure that no data is forgotten before sending it. Last thing you want to do is send a client a half-filled canned response. It makes us look unprofessional and could degrade the trust that we are working so hard to build. But even if we have a fully crafted canned response, don't feel that you have to rigidly stick to what it says. There may be times you need to update it with more details or include things that are not originally in the template. The point is that we have a good skeleton essentially to work with that we can build upon to create an amazing response. And then as well, if you've created the escalation and you're still not quite sure it sounds and even looks right, ask your fellow SOC analysts. Sometimes it takes a fresh perspective to see what has been staring you in the face the whole time. A forest through the trees type of scenario. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. I'm sure they will be willing to proofread a ticket update to ensure the client is getting the best possible response. And the same thing goes for internals. You can put an internal on a ticket and be like, hey, this was my findings on this. Can you check it out and see if you're seeing the same thing or if I interpreted it correctly? And so it's an ever improving life cycle. So utilizing templates and ticket history allows us to expedite responses while making our investigation process repeatable. This sets a high standard for written communication and enables clear, concise conversations with our clients. By establishing these consistent patterns, we not only improve our immediate response times, but also significantly reduce long-term risk through better documentation and faster incident resolution. The effective communication is the bridge between technical detection and business resilience. When we move beyond just checking boxes and starting to use templates to provide the clear context and actionable steps, we demystify the work of the SOC. This will demonstrate our true capabilities and shift the client's perspective of us from a source of friction to a vital extension of their own team. At the end of the day, a well-crafted ticket is a handshake. It proves we aren't just watching a dashboard. We are working with them to protect what matters. And cybersecurity is a field of constant evolution and learning. While your current responses get the job done, they may not be as good as they can be. Consistently refining your communication and technical capabilities will yield better results over time. Take the initiative to build out shared resources like KB pages, templates, and internal tools. As you improve your individual skills, you will elevate the entire SOC. This collective growth ensures that the team remains effective and that our clients stay protected against the ever-changing threat landscape. And now, as the webcast comes to a close, I know I'm a little early. I want to send you forth. Go and earn your client's trust, one well-crafted SOC ticket at a time. I thank you guys for attending. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah,
Nicely done, Dan.
Yes, well done. You've obviously done. We were talking about your background back there about why does he present so well? How come he's just sitting there like just spieling it out without like stumbling all over?
I go through and I literally write my script out because if I don't, I will be stumbling around all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's like what I said during the template, I believe, or the clear communication. I will go and rewrite sections constantly. And I hate the dreaded red squiggle. It makes me mad. And so I will go through and correct the spelling and all that right away so that it, because I just don't like it. So,
So, like I said, I worked at a help desk. I know why I sometimes did shoddy work. Sometimes you're just tired. Sometimes you're
oh, yeah.
whatever. But what is your finding like in SOCs? Is there enough time to do a good job?
Yes. Yeah. There's always enough time to do a good job. It depends on your behavior, essentially, or your attitude. Are there going to be times where you don't want to write down everything? Yeah, that's just about everybody. But setting those standards in place and essentially also having those templates ready so it's less work you do have to do also eases that burden a lot.
Yeah, that's templating. I made a comment in there about if you write the same thing 3 times and you haven't made a template, you're now remiss. And look, so I don't work in the SOC, I don't work at the help desk anymore. I have to respond to customers' questions, complaints, and things like boilerplating it. And I loved what you did with your the flag in there. You turned the template into a checklist to make sure you hit all the elements. Um, and
Oh, yeah.
and then the other thing you're talking about knowledge base and building the team's knowledge. I said that SOC analyst is a very monastic pursuit. You're just you're like you're working in the library or whatever in a big university. You're just building up the knowledge. And if you don't contribute to building that knowledge base, that's what's going to pick up your pace is when you can tap into that.
Oh, yeah. At a previous job I worked at, their knowledge base was very slim. And that was one of my tasks is I wanted to build in there some information. And at ProCircular now, we do have a very robust one. But one of the things that me and the other analysts have been doing is building out that the team triage queries so that we have that standard of, hey, this ticket comes in, this is the query you want to use for that to get the relevant information. And we're additionally like working on these playbooks as well to help not only have that checklist in there of, okay, start off, I want to check for ticket history. Does this user or does this endpoint have a history of doing this? Okay, they don't, mark that in the ticket. No history. Like it's simple things like that that just elevate those internals and those escalations so much that it seems insignificant, but it truly is. Like it helps dividends.
Yeah. There's a little comment going on. It said, is there a public accessible KB we can use as a reference? Yeah, what's your
I can't say that I know of any at this time. But it would, I'm sure somebody has some kind of framework out there, on GitHub or whatnot that would be like, hey, this is kind of how a KB should be set up. I honestly, I never set one up myself, but it basically is just, a location that your team can go to that has like the SOPs that need done. It could be, hey, I have a monthly meeting. What do I need? How do I discuss these things with a client? As I said, the triage, what I ended up doing, because I've been trying to build out those the queries, is I have what the query is, what it pulls, any changes that need to be made to it, as well as the query itself and a link into the sim that already populates the query in there. So like I try and give as much information as possible so that you can learn what it is and be able to effectively use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask the people who are still here, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you have a knowledge base, for one? And if you do, how good is it on a 1 to 10? How useful is it? Because I've all built, I wanted to build one in the pen testing, and we've built knowledge base. On the offensive side, we try to build that. But again, the problem is people are so pressed to produce results, they tend to slack on making the contribution. So, like, one of the things I was like, how do I incentivize this? So we try to recognize contributions to encourage other people. I would say, as a company, if you're not bonusing people for making great contributions to build that thing, because we are nothing in IT and security other than the knowledge. And that knowledge is in individuals' heads. Well, how do you share it across? Because we all know we're not going to master all this subject matter. So it's
and to include in that, like, for the people that are mentioning like they don't have one, or it's low, or whatnot, don't feel that you have to get the entire thing built out right away. Build it in pieces. Like, that's exactly that's what makes it a living document, is you're building it out in pieces. Is it ever complete? No. But you're going to keep building on it, and then there'll be the changes being made. You're going to improve upon it, what have you. If you're doing something constantly, put something in that KB. If it's something that kind of calls to you as well, talk to your manager, be like, hey, I'd like to help with some of the documentation in this. Be that, a lot of the times you need to be the one that's like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, people can't read your mind. You have to go to them.
This is such the perfection is the enemy of the good. We get paralyzed, just like when you get writer's block about writing. You're not going to get all in there. The thing is to build it. Like my thing is, hey, the knowledge base is wrong. For God's sakes, if you see something wrong in the knowledge base, take action. It's like, help me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we used Obsidian as well. There's a bunch of great tools out there. I actually used this is, like I said, way back in the help desk days. I just used the ticket database, keyword searching, and that was in 1989. So
I think looking at ticket history is also overlooked as being as helpful as it can be. Like, looking for the times that you've already written something helps you to, one, not have to rewrite it, and it's less brain power you have to work on that. Again, templates. One of the things that I like to do with my queries, depending on what it is I try to bake the response right into the query, so that if it tends to be true positive, hey, that response is already made with the information populated, and it's just a copy paste and making sure that it's formatted properly. And it's not that you're doing it to not work as hard. You're still working as hard. You're trying not to work as much on the formatting issues as you are. I'm looking at this information to ensure that it is correct. It does lead to this, and I'm explaining how I got there.
Someone asked, okay, which do you think is worse, KB with missing entries or a KB with entries that are no longer correct? I'm going to go with the missing is worse, because I love building on other people's failure. It's just so much easier. It's just so easy to go on what they got.
That is a hard one. Now, of course, I'm like probably overthinking it, like I do everything, because I'm thinking the stuff that's not correct, is it just outdated and it needs updated? Which they're both bad, in my opinion, because the outdated could mislead the analyst down a road that, hey, that's not supposed to go. But if you don't have it there, it also is like they don't know what to do.
Is that there's a reason for the wrong entry, and it's an opportunity to flag that and have that person learn. Because if they walked away from that ticket wrong, I mean, maybe it's just history, right? They learned after the fact, but it's a chance to flag the wrong stuff and move forward. So it's like, somebody who complains. It's like I'd rather have the complainer. I'd rather have the customer who complains because I know about it and I can start taking action.
Yeah, you can fix what you know. You can't fix what you don't know.
Yep.
A great help that that I've had in previous jobs, and I have at this one, is a QA. Having like a meeting with fellow analysts or whatnot, where you're critiquing your tickets. You'll go through a swath of different tickets from ranging from high severity to low. You want to not maliciously poke holes in what they're doing, but you want to constructively be like, hey, these were the spots that were missed that we need to improve upon. Here were the spots that did hit and you did good. And you want to not ever leave that feeling like, hey, I'm being attacked. No, use it as points of improvement going forward.
Yeah, someone sitting here. I do like criticizing people. Yes, don't we all like throwing rocks? But we have a saying here, and that's one of the cultural points we have is when you lose, don't lose the lesson. So you really got to have that, again, sort of like I said, the monastic knowledge focus is kind of part of the culture you need to succeed. Also, it's got to be the learning, and that failure is just a step on the way to success. So you've got to turn those around from failures and ego crushes and those things to, hey, why was this wrong? You know, what caused this error, and to grow from that, I think. So
I think some of that too is you have to take accountability and responsibility. I've seen a lot where people are quick to shift the blame, and I know in the past I have done that myself. But yes, it sucks to be like, yeah, that was my fault. I'm sorry. It is that step in the right direction. Being like, I'm acknowledging I did wrong. Now I can improve upon it. But the people that don't ever admit that, hey, yeah, I didn't include that in the ticket, are just, they're saying, no, I did it right the first time. I'm good.
but that's a culture. The culture can't be punishing. It's got to be learning focused. And
Exactly.
that comes from your top. You can try to generate it at the grassroots. And then just my thing is, because I'm looking for aspiring leaders, right? Like, yeah, if you're in a bad culture, take notes on what's bad and try to fix it. And then when you go somewhere else and when you get a little power, do some good. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Always.
Question.
Oh, go ahead.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Zoom. There's a couple questions in there. One was, what guidance or best practices can help analysts ensure their wording remains objective and avoids subjective language?
So I would say when you're writing it out, are you writing your opinion or are you writing facts?
Mm-hmm.
Because you should be writing facts. If you start straying into the realm of opinion, that's when you're hitting it to be subjective. So it could end up being and I find myself doing this and I have to keep like stopping, like, no, it'll be, hey, the firewall stopped this. And I started out actually writing a ticket and I was like, hey, this should be the result of that. And it's like, no, it is the result. Like, this is the result. Like, being factual will help in that if you remain factual, essentially. Yes.
I think you want to be clear, clearly identify facts.
Mhm.
I'm not hesitant to state an opinion, but I try to make it clear that it is an opinion. I know that when we did military writing, you did investigations, you would specifically cite due to fact A, B, and C. I believe that, boom. Right? I think hypotheses are not a bad thing to do. I mean, complex SOC situations are probably going to call it. So you'll have super simple tickets, but might have bigger involved things. I think being clear is be clear where
Yes.
you're waging an opinion.
Yes. So I was gonna say I pulled up the QA here. Let's see what we got. I'll try and answer a few of these in here. So There was a
While
really
you're
good one.
looking at that, there's a thought I had while you're talking about
Oh yeah.
learning and improving on stuff. And it's that uh, there's a lot of skills out there that are like a practice. Doctors call their work practice, lawyers call their work a practice. It sounds like SOC stuff is similar in that way. A lot of similarities, at least from my perspective, that it's always an evolution. You're always looking to improve. You never, like CJ said, you're never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop working towards improving your efforts, your practice. I mean, hosting a webcast is a practice.
It's the nature.
Fine, a put on it, but
it's the nature of cybersecurity. It's a constantly evolving landscape that it requires diligence and learning. If you are not willing to be learning every day and making changes, it's probably not the best career path for you, to be completely honest. But that doesn't mean that it's not a good experience. And a lot of what I discussed today doesn't necessarily have to strictly be SOC related. A lot of it can involve sales. It can involve any department, not even cybersecurity. It's great skills to help speak to humans, essentially, like how we speak to each other. It's a great way of doing that.
And that curiosity is obviously required around the tech stuff. But this soft skill and pointing at the writing, same thing as Ryan just said. It's a practice, and your writing, you can continually improve. The question is, you got to get to a balance point. You've got time constraints. You have energy constraints. You're trying to do the best job you can, and you're trying to get better and more efficient at it as you go. So, and that's why I like your soft skill focus, Dan, talking about.
Thank you.
The nuts and bolts down here.
I do see a question. It says, how anonymous attendee, how to explain things to non-technical teams. What analogy should we use? And so my thought on this is, this goes back to when I was doing my write-ups on Try Hack Me rooms. I was writing them in a way that it's somebody maybe coming to the computer for the first time. Try and use, like, you can use analogies, and I can't speak to one specifically because it's all going to depend on the situation, but try and speak in terms that are not necessarily technical that would end up equating, if that makes sense. Like, you have somebody risky user alert. Hey, this is somebody logged in from an IP that is saying it's located in my example, Russia. Can you confirm with us that the user is where they say they are and that it is expected? And so giving them the information they need, a timestamp. Please include timestamps in your updates, because if you ever have to look something up and you don't have a timestamp, it makes it so much more frustrating. So include a timestamp. But yeah, explain those
timestamps.
I recently started switching to Central because that's where my company is based out of. So a lot of our clients are there. So I switched that, but for the longest time I used UTC because I feel it's universal. Everybody will end up knowing, and it could be less translation from that point.
Excellent stuff. Oh, the last little cue I wanted is, I was talking to our pen test team about when they're taking technical notes during a test. Are you going to using any audio voice to text stuff in taking notes? Are you starting to see any traction for doing that?
Honestly, I've never thought about doing that, especially with my track record of voice to text. I don't mind the typing aspect of it. I don't really mind typing things out. But yeah, if I'm typing stuff more than 3 times, I'm making something that
our testers
copy paste.
Said they're like, no, I'm good with typing. Or
Yeah.
copying from the screen and pasting. I just got an app called Whisper Flow, and it's for Mac and iOS stuff only. But it's got a lot of AI built into it, and it can learn your lingo. It can correct things. Like one of the things you can do is you can say, let's meet tomorrow. No, let's make that next week at 7. And it doesn't type everything you said. It fixes it. And so the ability for me to like dump a stream, and I do softer things responding to clients, but to me that can be some time savings. But I don't think it's all there yet. So I was just curious.
Okay. I see 2 questions here. What time are we done with this, Ryan?
We've got about 4 minutes left on the official webcast. We can go a little bit over if you want, if you have time.
I'm going to try and answer some of these questions I'm seeing here in Zoom. The first one that's real quick. Do you recommend a specific clipboard manager? I use Sublime Text. That's where I put them in. I've been transferring certain ones over to the KB, depending on the queries, but I usually have a Sublime Text and I have just folders and I try and make it nice. But I do have a document that's just literally canned responses that I will copy and paste from. Then how did I get started in the SOC? So my SOC, I started a year and a half ago, essentially. I started in a SOC at another company, and I was there for about 3 months. And that was actually the first year I went to Wild West Hacking Fest, which was super fun. Hey, that's coming up in October. You guys, hey, come to Wild West. I plan on being there. We can say hi, meet up.
Yeah.
But it took me probably from 2020 to 2023 till I got a role in cyber. My learning experience has all been YouTube, some Udemy, just going out there and finding the knowledge. Try Hack Me. But the key thing to getting a SOC role, other than learning and putting that in, is networking. Meet people in the community. Go talk with them. Go learn. Go to a B-Sides. Learn all that you can. Meet all these wonderful people, because you are fighting against countless amounts of people trying to get the same job you are. You need to find that leg up, and one of it is making friends in the community.
And one way to do that is to go to Wild West Hacking Fest.
That's right.
Or your B-Sides, your local
Yes.
B-Sides.
I was gonna say the conferences I'm going to this year, B-Side Charm, I will be at. B-Sides Harrisburg, I will, though my head might be down in my laptop there because I like to do the CTF, which if it is and you want to say hi, come over and say hi. Feel free to bother me. I don't care. And then I'll be at Wild West Hacking Fest. I'm volunteering again this year. I went the last 2 and I love it every time.
Awesome. We are right about at the top of the hour. So any final questions there that really should address before we go? Well, I think we're good to go. Any final thoughts?
Perfect execution, Dan.
Thank you.
They're awesome. Yes, fantastic job. Slides are quite entertaining to look at.
I didn't see that one it says put your favorite John Strand meme into chat. Did anybody do that, or did everybody miss it?
There were bunches.
There were a few.
There's one.
If anybody's watching this right now and saying, where are those slides? Where can I get a copy of that? If you look into the resources channel in both Zoom or Discord, you can find the link to the slide deck. Check them out. There are URLs and resources in the slide deck, so you can have that for later use and come back and revisit this. That's it. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our Antisyphon Anticasts today. We've got Dan. He did a fantastic job. We got CJ. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Brett. or Sweden. I'm calling you Brett.
Choice.
Thank you guys for tackling those questions at the end of today's Anticast. I appreciate it because I am not actually Jason Blanchard, by the way.
What?
Oh my!
Oh, I don't believe it.
It was a deep fake the whole time.
You've been deep faked. So if you're new to this webcast and you're like, wait a minute, he's not Jason. No, I'm not. Jason had a sick day today, or an ill day, or what. He's just not here, and I came in to be substitute Jason Blanchard for the day, which just happened to be April 1st, sort of a day. So we went with it. And if you're watching the YouTube recording, you may be like, "What was that all about?" And because that's probably because the pre-show banter has been trimmed off already. So yeah, I pretended to be Jason for the first 30 minutes of our live webcast. And if you missed pre-show banter and you're like, what's that all about? Join us early on our next Anticast. You'll find out how that goes. You'll be in the know. So we do trim that off later on YouTube. But again, thanks everybody. The recording's on YouTube. If you're registered on Zoom, you'll get an email for the recording. And until next time, substitute Ryan. Not really a substitute, but April 1st, Brian, go ahead and kill it with fire.